more stuff that have to do with library resources and research in a little bit more depth. But I just want to point out that there is a lot of stuff that is available to you through the library. And so one of the things that you probably don't want to do, for instance, is to be paying for access to your research because you've already paid for access to those resources. We have a lot of databases and ebooks and other things that are available to you whether you're on campus or off, and so you're going to be able to get access to a lot of those if you go to the library website, which is library.ww.edu. So when I work with students, there's a number of things that I do. I help them in using some of the research resources such as Western Library's OneSearch, which is where you find books and articles among other things. But then also probably more so for the CC program with the article databases, because oftentimes you're actually going and looking for article research that is out there. And so we have many different databases, which is why we have to organize them with this page here. I'm not going to get too in depth with it, but we have a bunch of databases by name. If you know the one you want, you know where to go. You can do all that kind of stuff. But then we've also organized them by subject, so you can find them under education here. And so you can find the databases that you might need, but the thing is, the databases, especially if you haven't been using them on a regular basis, can be a little bit alien because they're not exactly the same as Google, because you're doing an in-depth search rather than the shallow level search that Google tends to be good at. So that's part of the reason why I'm here. When you end up having a question with one of those databases, I'm a resource that you have on hand that, and I can help you do that. I use them all the time. And it's actually what I'm supposed to be doing, so you're not interrupting me when you ask me a question with the databases. Students are always so apologetic. Do not be apologetic. I'd rather work on your research question than some sort of boring committee, whatever I have. So if I have an excuse to procrastinate with something else, then that's great, okay? So keep that in mind. The other thing that I want to point out here is that there's a lot of questions and answers that we already have on our website related to our resources under contact/ask us. We have this knowledge base of questions and answers. There's 785 in there already, so when you have a question about circulation, an ebook, a database, you might check there. If you're somebody like me where you try to find your answer first before asking someone. But just because I am the librarian for the program doesn't mean that there aren't other librarians that are available to help you as well. You can certainly stop by the library at any point and talk with somebody at one of our service points. And if they can't help you, they'll tend to refer you to somebody else who can. But there's a lot of different librarians that can help you with your research. And you have some virtual ways to get a hold of them as well, including live chat through our website here. You can call us at our desk. You can text message us your question. You can tweet us your question. There's a lot of different ways. So librarians are nerds for taking in questions and answering them. That's what we like to do. So you're not bothering us when you ask the questions. It's just, once again, I'm going to reiterate that's what we like to do. That's why I went into librarianship in the first place. And so again, one other thing I should point out is that I work with a lot of students with APA formatting and doing that. I do workshops on APA formatting. Sometimes I go into people's classes in order to do that, and sometimes we have drop-in workshops that are outside of that. So that's something that you might keep an eye on, especially if you're not familiar with APA, or if you're not familiar with APA 6th edition. If you've been out of school for a while, that might be the case. A lot of people get really intimidated with APA because it's not the most fun thing to do, to put together a perfectly formatted citation, but you do have resources on hand to help you out with that. The other thing that I support students in using is this application called Zotero, and I'm just going to put a quick plug in for it right now because it's a free research management application. And it's something that in the IT class, it gets introduced there. But in some ways, it's actually a really good idea to front load your use with it. Because if you are using Zotero to manage your research for all your various projects all through your CCE career, that's going to make that point where you are doing your portfolio later on much easier because you've essentially built a miniature database for yourself using Zotero. And it's really powerful in the different things that it can do, including exporting formatted citations for you. So there's a lot of neat stuff that happens with that. I support people in using it. It is a little bit sophisticated, but I think for graduate students, it's extremely useful to consider putting in that time and getting familiar with it. So again, I do come into the IT classes, but you might consider investigating it before then. And when you have questions, you can ask me, or if you're interested in a workshop, ask me about that as well, because I'll be scheduling some of those down the road. So that's a lot of information to throw at you all at once quickly. Does anybody have any questions when it comes to library resources?
How do you spell that Zotero that you mentioned?
Zotero. And so if you wanted more information about Zotero and you went to the library homepage, contact/ask us, and you started typing in Zotero, how do I get started using Zotero for research management? It's one of the questions and answers that I have here. There's a video where it's me talking for a while. And so you can do that, or you can do a self-paced presentation that I put together through Prezi. And there's also a support site that we have with all sorts of information related to it. Again, it's one of those things where you have to put in some time to really figure out how it works and get familiar with it, but it ends up being worth it down the road when it makes life a lot easier. Yeah?
Is that something that we would like to keep on our desktop computer, like its own separate application?
It actually, ideally you use it as an add-on to Firefox. So if you didn't have Firefox, it's a free download. Zotero is a free download. They're both free applications. And for people that don't like to use Firefox, I just tell them, make Firefox your research browser or something like that. Because for reasons I won't get into right now, it ends up being really great to use it within a browser. There is a standalone version of it as well, but I don't recommend it quite as much as the other version. And I've talked with a lot of other students in the program. It's kind of a unique advantage being a student in the program at the same time as being a librarian for the program, and that I get to have some conversations where I learn about how they are using Zotero. And almost everybody that I talk with in depth says, I wish I knew about this towards the beginning of the program, because it would have made so much other things a lot easier. And so if you want to talk about how you might use it, I'm happy to sit down with you and discuss that one-on-one.
Which is why we're having Dave here.
Yeah. So research consultations, you want to sit down with me at some point, or sit on the phone, I guess, or whatever it may be, whatever works. Don't be shy. We can set aside half hour, an hour. If you're thinking about a research project and you're not sure where you're going to be getting your sources from, or you're just feeling bewildered by it in general, this is what I do. I help people and kind of point some ways in which you might go about doing it. Cool. Any other questions?
Calling me a student. I really appreciate that. Well, I'm not an alumna of the program. I might have been had it existed when I was in graduate school, but I have a great fondness for this program, a great appreciation for it. And Denise and I are going to tell you about the Learning Commons. I'm going to say a little bit about it, what it is generally as a concept and a real place with real people. And then I wanted to emphasize one program in particular that might be useful to you, and then Denise is going to talk about some really wonderful opportunities for you through the Writing Center and your own writing. That's the plan. Before I forget, though, I also want to put in a plug for as you think about your own coursework. And I actually had a chance to work with Gabe and some other people in your program last year I think it was in connection with the curriculum development course. Curriculum and development, was that the 571? Yeah, I would encourage you to think of the Learning Commons as a kind of research site, place that you could partner with. So, keep it in mind. There might be a way in terms of a practical application or observation or partnership. In the case I'm thinking about, we did you did a needs assessment for the Learning Commons as part of the coursework, and with Chevelle Thibault, who is now on our staff, and it was extremely useful to us, and I think useful to people as they did the course. So keep that in mind, another way to use this, as you will. So I don't know, I know some of you who are returning know about the Learning Commons. In terms of a concept, it's sort of a community of practice, I'm thinking. I noticed that was the way you sort of build the program on your website, in that it's a collaboration of resources and programs that are there to partner with faculty, staff, and students, all to advance student learning. And I've got a little handout here, and it tells you about the programs that are part of this community of practice, if you will. So programs like the Writing Center. There's also a corresponding program for faculty who teach or use writing called Writing Instruction Support. And we'd partner together, for example, in some integrated workshops that are happening right now, along with some of our research librarians. So it's very much a collaboration, a consortium. The other programs, these are program partners. Some of them are part of the library organizational structure, and some are part of the university-wide. So the Center for Instructional Innovation and Assessment and the Student Technology Center are kind of analogous. The Student Tech Center is for students, and it's for grad students too, right? A lot of great services there.
Am I not
You use
supposed
it?
to use that?
No, you are.
I go over there and I use it all the time. They're so helpful.
They are absolutely helpful.
It's right across from circulation. If you want to know how to do something on Excel
Right.
spreadsheet that you don't know how to do, and then you just walk right over there, and they've got smart people sitting right there at the desk that'll
That's
show
right.
you how to do it.
That's right.
It's unbelievable.
And the Center for Instructional Innovation and Assessment, in terms of its main audience, is to help faculty who are working with instructional technology, but you could use them too. Okay, so all of that's available to you.
Nobody says no when I go over to the library. Everybody helps me.
Well, there you are. That's really probably the main message we have, yeah. The Center for Service Learning is another program partner. Research and Instruction, which Gabe has highlighted. The Research Consultation Desk that is there. How many of you know what I'm talking about when I say the Learning Commons as a physical place? Do you know where that? Okay. So if you come in the Wilson entrance, and you come in and Zoe's is on the right, primarily that area there in Wilson Central is the Learning Commons. It extends across the second floor. So for example, the Student Tech Center is across the Sky Bridge. But if you'll notice, if you haven't been there, it's not new to you, but those who have been here know that it was recently remodeled to really highlight the collaborative, interactive nature of the Commons. So the Research Consultation Desk is there, there's an info desk, and those folks, student staff, in fact they're going through their orientation right now, returning and new people, are there to help you find places. The library is not all that easy to find rooms in sometimes. Whatever you need, they can help you with. The Research Consultation Desk, the Writing Center is adjacent. There's all kinds of lovely new furniture that, yes, you can use. And there are also spaces, in fact, adjacent to the info desk. We're inviting faculty to hold office hours there. Let's say you wanted to meet with a group of colleagues in the program or students. You can schedule a place in that area to meet. It's highly visible. There's food nearby. So it's all designed to support your human needs as teachers and learners. Okay.
Can I just mention something for this particular group because they come at night? Zoe's Bagels is the only place that has food after 6 o'clock.
Good point.
So if you get out of your class early and you're doing group projects, there's lots of places where you can get coffee, food, and work right there. It's a nice place on campus. In fact, it's the only place you're going to be able to get food at that time of night.
Yeah, so the library is a good warm place till midnight, including food. The tutoring center is also available there in the Commons. I mentioned writing instruction support. Viking Village is a kind of virtual space that is part of the Learning Commons. And then I do want to emphasize an opportunity that you might want to take advantage of. Some of you, maybe, I think, in this room have participated in the Teaching Learning Academy. The Teaching and Learning Academy is a little difficult to explain. I brought a handout, and I'll leave those with you as well. It's a kind of distinctive structure. I was going to say it's the only one of its kind, but there are actually a couple now that have copied us. What it is, it's a dialogue forum on teaching and learning. It's a useful place to simply hang out and listen. It includes faculty, staff, and students from across campus. It's an opportunity to hear what students really think. That's the way some faculty characterize it. The reason they go there is they want to know what students outside of their own spheres actually think. It's a chance to meet colleagues from other departments, and when you're in a program like this, I mean, one of the values is there's such solidarity in your cohort, but it's a great way to open up the boundaries and to talk to some other colleagues who, like you, are really committed to adult higher education. So it's a dialogue forum. We meet every other week. There are 4 different dialogue group times. I think they're in here, but if they're not, I'll just tell you. Every quarter, we begin the second week of the term, so next week we'll be beginning the TLA dialogue. Wednesday at noon is one time, Wednesday at 2, Tuesday at noon, and Tuesday at 2. And the way it works is in the fall quarter together, and last quarter we had about 100 people across those stakeholders, faculty, students, staff, and as well as some community members. And actually, that's a really wonderful opportunity to hear the voices of off the campus. Fall, we develop a question, and let's see if I can tell you, because we just finished this process. Our big question for this year is, how do we ignite individual passion, purpose, and potential in co-creating a culture of trust? So this question represents what's on the minds of the people who are participating in fall TLA. In winter, we will look at ways to answer that question. So it's a place where you can kind of sit in, listen to some ideas, you can come and go, you can drop in. If you want to sign up and be on the listserv, and Chevelle's contact, Chevelle, one of your alumna, is the program coordinator, and she can get you on the listserv and give you details of when the meetings happen. But I highly recommend it because I think it is a place where you can learn outside of the regular credit-bearing courses about what's happening in higher ed here. So, Denise, do you want to tell them about the Writing Center stuff?
Sure.
There's all kinds of cool stuff.
All right, so my name's Denise. I'm actually a student in the Master's in Teaching Secondary Ed program, and I work for the Writing Center. And the Graduate Writing Center is new this year. It used to be we just had a Writing Center basically for undergraduates, and grad students could kind of go in and get help from undergrads, just kind of depending. We didn't really pay for the Writing Center, so technically we weren't even supposed to get help. But the graduate school funded a big needs assessment last spring, and one of the needs that came out was a need for some writing support. So there's 4 of us that work there as graduate assistants now from a variety of backgrounds, and this is our website that I've pulled up. It's libguides.www.edu/gradwritingcenter. And we function a little differently from the undergrad writing center because graduate students have very different needs, so we aren't really there like 9 to 6 just for like drop-in hours the same way the undergrads are. We function mostly on appointments, face-to-face, and we're pretty flexible. So if you just email us in and say like, hey, I want to meet with someone about this paper, this research project, or my CV, or a personal statement for a PhD program, or pretty much anything you're writing, we want to help you with it. And then we'll try and find someone who can, kind of meet your times and meet up with you face-to-face to work on it. We also allow you to send in drafts, so you can, if you can't make it into campus, especially in a program like yours, I imagine a lot of you are working and busy and, don't necessarily live right next to campus like most of the undergrads do. You can email us a copy of whatever you're working on with kind of like, this is what the assignment was and here's where I'm at. And we'll email a response back to you within a day. And then depending on how you want it, we can either provide a written response, or we do these things called jings, and they're little videos where we'll highlight parts of your paper, and we'll also talk to you for 5 minutes about your paper. And you can actually get a little more information in that way a lot of the times if you like using those. So those are available. And then we're doing a number of different seminars and events, and this is a work in progress since this is our first year in existence, because we're still kind of getting a feel for what people most need and would like to see. So we did a couple events in the fall about getting started on your thesis proposal for people in thesis programs. We'll probably do more with that in the spring and writing a lit review. If there's any seminars or anything that you think would be good for us to provide, please let us know. We're actually really encouraging people to tell us what they would like to see us provide as a service. And so those are just kind of small little workshops where we provide some, guided instruction for an hour or two on a specific aspect of writing or type of writing assignment. We also did a kind of a lock-in right before finals, where we basically had, I think it was 5 hours on a Saturday afternoon in the Writing Center, which is kind of right next to Zoe's in the library. And people just came in and worked on final papers and things. We were there for help if they wanted it. Most people really just wanted the kind of quiet, focused place to work, had some snacks and things. So it's a work in progress, but we're having fun with it, and we're trying to provide some good support. So pretty much, you need any writing help, we're here for you. And if you have any advice on how we can help you, please let us know.